From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, this is Jonathan Blaze with our weekly weather briefing, looking up for the period through the remainder of this week, the weekend, and into early next week. We have a very active weather pattern coming up, which has been kind of the norm, it seems like, for the past many weeks, and even much of the winter. First of all, a dry cold front is pushing through the area this morning and this afternoon. We may see a few high clouds with that, but you'll notice the air mass will be a little cooler today than the warm conditions we experienced yesterday. Still, only a few mid or high clouds are expected with that weather system and just some cooler temperatures. The area of high pressure behind that front will be building into the Mid-Atlantic and even the Carolinas later tonight and into the first part of tomorrow. With that high pressure coming in, the front will be pushed to the south, and later tonight a low pressure area will develop along the front. You can see in the upper left graphic here. As that low pressure area moves northeast, we expect some spotty light precipitation to develop across the Tennessee Valley and the mountains, and that'll spread into the western portions of North Carolina and even to Piedmont late tonight, but that should be very spotty. However, as the low pressure area becomes a little bit better developed and moves northeast, more widespread and steadier rain is expected to envelop the area tomorrow on Friday. Probably be steadiest during the afternoon and the evening. And for folks maybe from Raleigh, north and east, it may not start till the afternoon or evening. So a decent part of the day tomorrow, at least in the morning, may be dry. But for the most part, for most of us, we expect lots of clouds tomorrow and rain overspreading the area. Not a lot of opportunity to get much done outside. With the clouds and the rain and the cool air mass building in, for many of us, it'll be a chilly and kind of yucky day with highs in many locations only in the 40s in the Piedmont, maybe a little warmer down toward Fayetteville, where there will be outside of the cold air damming area. But generally a pretty nasty day on Friday, and the commute tomorrow, Friday, should be a little bit difficult as well with widespread rain. Anyways, that low pressure system will move north and east of the area on Friday night into early Saturday, and we'll just have some lingering drizzle, clouds, and even some fog for Friday night into Saturday morning. For the most part, Saturday, we won't see a lot of measurable rain or widespread rain, but certainly in the morning, kind of a dank, cloudy, cool day as we have a cold air damming wedge air mass in place for most of us. Eventually, though, the front will lift north. Looks like that may occur on Saturday night into Sunday. And with that, we'll have a period of warmer weather on Sunday. Again, can't rule out a threat of a little bit of a sprinkle or rain shower for many locations, but for the most part, the day will be dry and much warmer on Sunday as the warm front lifts north and our cold air damming wedge air mass kind of is eroded away. However, that's short-lived as another front approaches, as you can see in the lower left graphic here, that approaches on Sunday night and moves across the area on Monday. And with that, we expect another band of rainfall to spread across the area with another period of rain, unfortunately, for many of us. So for the weekend, looks like Saturday will be the worst weather day of the weekend with lots of clouds and lingering drizzle and fog in the morning for sure, maybe an outside bit of rain. On Sunday, for most of us, most of the day will be dry, and there'll be some breaks of sunshine, especially south and east of Raleigh, where temperatures may warm close to 70. But there's just a small chance of a little bit of rain on Sunday. So on our next graphic, as we look into the next part of our briefing, we talk about our precipitation. So today, no precipitation is expected. For Friday, this is the rainfall that's expected with the storm system coming across very late tonight, but more likely on Friday into Friday night. And with that, we expect lighter amounts in the east, maybe 1/4 of an inch across the coastal plain areas, but a little bit steadier and heavier rain out across the Piedmont and especially the western Piedmont, Yadkin Valley areas, where rainfall amounts may approach 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. On Saturday, just some light spotty rain. Most of that is confined to locations up to Virginia and the mountains. And on Sunday into Monday, this is with the approaching front that moves through the area on Monday. The vast majority of that rainfall will occur late Sunday night and most of it on Monday. As we head in the middle of next week, a lot of uncertainty, but it looks like that front will stall to our south. And with that, there's a threat of some storm systems riding up along the front. We'll have to monitor that. But the better chances of precipitation, at least the middle of next week, are likely across the southern tier, but a lot of question marks regarding that. And then looking at the rainfall total for the next 7 days, unfortunately, across the western parts of central North Carolina, including the western Piedmont, the Yadkin Valley areas, we expect anywhere from an inch, inch and a half, up to maybe 2 inches of rain. For most of us, probably more like an inch or so averaging throughout the period as a whole. And then further south and east, maybe slightly lesser amounts, an inch or less. But still another wet period on top of what we have already experienced this winter. In terms of the excessive rainfall outlook, and again, this looks at the shorter term kind of period, kind of like a flash flood threat. There's no risk of flash flooding over the next 3 days. The rainfall events will be fairly short-lived, and their magnitudes will be just under the threshold at which we would expect flash flooding. However, rivers will remain elevated and fast running through the period, and we do have river flooding expected or possible on the lower reaches of the Roanoke, the Tar, the Neuse, and the Cape Fear rivers. And building upon that, here's a slide of our current river observations and forecasts. I'll note, beginning in the north, which is actually on the bottom part of this graphic, the Roanoke River is going to have minor flooding for the next several days, and flood warnings are in effect for those locations on the Roanoke River at Scotland Neck and Roanoke Rapids. That's mainly resulting from releases from the dam there. Also on the Tar River at Tarboro, we have minor flooding with a flood warning in effect there. That river should be on its way down soon, and conditions will be improving at least for the near term there. And then at Goldsboro, moderate flooding is occurring, and we'll talk more about the Neuse River here in a second, but those conditions at Goldsboro, in terms of some kind of flooding, are likely to persist for many, many days. So looking at the Neuse River in particular, with the rainfall we expect, as well as some releases from Falls Lake, which will add additional water to the riverway. The river levels are likely to increase up and down stream. First at Clayton, we expect the river to perhaps move into flood stage at some point late in the weekend. Similarly for Smithfield, they likely will approach flood stage first part of the weekend or so. And then Goldsboro, while the trend is downward, eventually as this higher water that we see already moving into Clayton and Smithfield upstream makes its way down to Goldsboro, we expect this forecast will bounce back up. And while it does show a downward trend here, newer guidance is suggesting that the river will swing upward. So the Neuse River is likely to remain elevated and in some form of flood stage at many locations for the next many, many days. In addition to Falls Lake, which is going to need to release a great deal of water over the coming weeks because the lake is at such a high level, other reservoirs are also going to have to do the same, and that includes on Jordan Lake and Falls Lake. So the next graphic talks a little bit about the severe weather threat in terms of thunderstorms. And right now, no thunderstorms are in the forecast. There are slight potential for some thunderstorms up in Virginia and in the Ohio Valley on Saturday, and that's ahead of that front we talked about, which will be approaching us on Sunday, so nothing in the near term there. And looking further beyond, not a good signal or a strong signal for any kind of strong or severe thunderstorms in the next few days. And the next graphic, we'll talk about their outlook for the second really week of March, and the forecast shows a tendency for slightly above normal temperatures, at least that's favored for that period, and a precipitation trend might actually be near or maybe even below normal during that period. So that will be much appreciated for many of us. So looking at the weather summary here real quick, There is an unsettled weather pattern coming up during the next 7 days. And if you look at the forecast, whether it's on our website, like you see at the bottom of the screen here for Raleigh, or maybe on your favorite app on your phone, it looks like it's going to rain every day for seemingly the next 5 or 6 days. And while there will be a good deal of cloudiness during the period, it's not going to be a complete washout. And there'll be intervals of rain and a couple weather systems, so don't panic about that. Even as we head into the latter part of the weekend, there will be some breaks. The first storm system brings rain to the area on Friday and Friday night. Cold air damming kind of wedge persists into Saturday, which will bring some clouds and drizzle and fog, at least in the first part of Saturday. A lull in the widespread precipitation is expected on Saturday and then it's early Sunday with some temperature recovery, with temperatures warming into the 60s perhaps on Saturday and maybe approaching 70 on Sunday if the clouds break enough and the rain holds off. A front approaches the area. Again, late Sunday moves across the area Monday, and a lot of uncertainty about next week with a front stalled to our south and an active jet stream. So looking at those weather systems, what are the hazards and impacts? And there is an ever so small chance of a little wintry precipitation late tonight in the western Piedmont as the precipitation first moves into the area. This is a low end kind of probability, but it wouldn't surprise me if somebody out there somewhere on social media finds a snowflake or two to talk about. But our temperatures will be well above freezing and close in Greensboro. We'll get out of the we'll bottom out in the mid 30s. So we don't expect any impacts with that. The additional rain on Friday could result in some rises on streams and creeks and perhaps some wet, boggy areas or poor drainage areas. Water may accumulate a little bit, but we don't expect any significant issues or flash flooding. But it is worth noting that rivers, streams, and creeks should remain elevated for the next many days, and they'll be swift and fast moving through the period. Please use caution if you're out hiking or near any kind of bodies of water, as places that normally aren't wet are wet and muddy. And river flooding, again, is possible across the lower reaches of the Roanoke, Tar, Neuse, and Cape Fear rivers. So with that, we'll finish up the briefing here. I will stand by for any questions. But for the meantime, I want to thank everybody for joining us and hope you have a good day. So I had a quick question about the rain in Smithfield and what time it'll start on Friday. It looks like the morning likely will be mainly dry, maybe some spotty light, very light kind of precipitation, but specifically the widespread steady rain likely won't begin till the afternoon. Could even be a little bit later in the afternoon, to be honest with you. So if you had something to do first thing and you could do it outside, I think you probably get that okay in Smithfield. But during the afternoon, it looks like it'll be a little bit wet and getting quite wet during the during late afternoon, evening, and the commute in Johnston County, Smithfield area will be a little bit tricky on Friday evening. All right, with that, then we will call it a day and hope everyone has a good weekend. Stay dry and enjoy what appears to be at least a few glimpses and teases of springtime on its way. Thank you, everyone.